Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive with us. Are you ready for a creepy one? Today, we're heading into the chilling depths of Jukai Village.
Sometimes known as Suicide Forest.
Ooh, yeah, that nickname doesn't exactly paint a pretty picture, does it?
Not at all. It definitely sets the stage for something eerie.
For sure. And to guide us through this unsettling location, we're turning to an excerpt from a story called The Curse of Jukai's Shadows,
Oh, I love this one. A group of urban explorers decides to venture into this infamous forest.
which, might not have been the smartest move.
Maybe not, but hey, that's where the excitement comes in.
Totally. So what are we hoping to uncover in this deep dive? Well, we're going to unpack this legend of Jukai Village, see if there's any truths behind the spooky stories, and explore why we're so drawn to these so-called cursed places.
It's like a morbid curiosity, isn't it? These places have this pull on us.
They absolutely do. And speaking of pull, it's interesting how legends tied to a place can shape how we experience it.
Absolutely. Like just hearing the name Suicide Forest instantly makes you feel uneasy.
Right, you're already on edge even before you step foot in the place.
Exactly. It's as if the legend itself casts a shadow over the actual location.
Have you ever felt that?
Yeah.
That pull towards a place with a dark history, wanting to see for yourself if the stories are true?
Oh, totally. And the Curse of Jukai's Shadows really plays with that. The author does an amazing job of setting the scene, describing the forest in this vivid, almost suffocating way.
Like you can practically feel the weight of the atmosphere.
Right. There's this eerie silence, these towering trees blocking out the sun, creating this constant gloom.
It's almost as if the forest itself is holding its breath, waiting for something to happen.
It's like that feeling you get right before a thunderstorm, that stillness in the air.
And remember, our explorers, Hana, Riku, and their crew, they aren't just there for a casual hike. Their goal is to find the abandoned Jukai Village, a place steeped in even darker legends.
Which, adds another layer of creepiness to the whole thing. They're actively seeking out the source of the stories.
And they have Kenji with them. He's their local guide.
Right, Kenji. He seems to know way more than he's letting on.
Oh yeah, Kenji is constantly warning them about the dangers, urging them to not touch anything.
But of course they don't listen.
Well, they're young and maybe a little bit reckless.
Oh, a little bit. They seem to be more focused on the thrill of the unknown than heeding any warnings.
It's that classic horror trope, isn't it? The warnings ignored, the allure of the forbidden.
You see it time and time again, and it always ends badly.
So naturally, they eventually find the village. It's described as this collection of crumbling homes swallowed by the forest.
And there's this oppressive silence hanging over everything.
Like it's a place that time forgot, and not in a good way.
And then, right in the center, they find a shrine, overgrown with ivy, hidden in the shadows.
Beneath this shrine, a chest. But not just any chest.
This one is covered with these intricate carvings, faces twisted in agony, strange symbols. You can just sense something's not right.
And there's this low hum coming from it.
Almost like a warning.
Even Hana hesitates, but that pull of the unknown, it's just too strong.
And that's where things start to go wrong, because she decides to open it.
I can practically hear the audience yelling, "No, don't do it."
It's like a rule in horror, right? Never open the mysterious box.
But curiosity often gets the better of us, doesn't it?
It's that desire to know, to peek behind the curtain, even when we suspect there might be something terrible lurking there.
So Hana opens the chest, and what's inside? Scrolls covered in strange symbols, some kind of ancient writing, and a carved idol.
Oh, that idol. It's described as having these hollow, staring eyes.
Definitely creepy doll vibes. And remember that hum? It gets louder after they open the chest.
And then Hannah starts hearing whispers.
It starts subtly, but those whispers definitely mark the beginning of the curse's hold on them.
Is she really hearing whispers, or is it the power of suggestion at work? In moments of fear, our minds can play tricks on us.
It's like our imagination starts to run wild, filling in the blanks with our worst fears.
And just as these whispers start to unsettle everyone, things escalate. Because Riku, the one filming everything, suddenly vanishes.
Like, poof, gone.
They find his camera on the ground, lens cracked.
It's as if something snatched him right out of the air.
His disappearance really shifts the tone. It goes from creepy to genuinely threatening. Something is wrong here.
And then, just as suddenly as he disappeared, Riku reappears.
But he's not himself. Pale, unresponsive, eyes wide and vacant. He looks possessed.
It's like whatever he encountered in the forest, it took something from him, replaced it with something else.
It's at this point that Kenji realizes the true danger they're in. He knows what's coming, and it terrifies him.
And things spiral from there. Burning symbols start appearing on their skin.
Like they're being branded by the curse.
They catch glimpses of shadowy figures lurking at the edges of their vision.
Those villagers we mentioned earlier, their hollow eyes watch.
And those whispers, they get louder, more insistent, tormenting them with unsettling messages.
This is where the story really starts to dig into that psychological horror. They're isolated, their fears are amplified, and they're turning against each other.
Which is exactly what the curse wants. Divide and conquer, right?
Yes, it's a classic tactic, and it's working perfectly. But we'll have to pause here for now.
Don't worry, though. We'll be back soon with part 2 of our deep dive into the Curse of Jukai's Shadows,
where we'll witness the terrifying climax of the story and explore the psychological implications of this curse's hold on the group.
Until then, think about this. How much of what's happening is the curse itself, and how much is the power of suggestion? Is there fear feeding the curse, making it stronger? Welcome back to our deep dive into the Curse of Jukai's Shadows. When we left off, our explorers were not doing so well. Trapped in the forest, haunted by those whispers and visions marked by the curse.
It's like they walked right into a nightmare, and now they can't get out.
Exactly. And that final night in the forest, it's described as pure terror. The spirits of those villagers, those creepy figures we talked about, they fully manifest, and they are not happy.
It's not just the spirits, though. The forest itself seems to turn against them.
Like, the branches are reaching out, the roots are trying to trip them. The whole environment becomes this hostile force.
Yeah, it's as if the forest is mirroring the torment of the villagers.
Reflecting their rage and suffering.
And remember, Hannah, she's still holding that idol, the one from the chest. It's pulsing in her hand, whispering to her.
And amidst all this chaos, she has this terrifying realization. The whispers, they haven't been trying to help her. They've been manipulating her, urging her to keep the idol.
To feed the curse, essentially.
It's like the curse is using her hope, her desire to find a solution against her.
That's a really interesting twist, right? It makes you think about the nature of curses. Are they purely external? Or do they need something from us too? Our belief, our fear.
It's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy, isn't it? The more she believes in the curse, the more power it has over her.
And now she's faced with this impossible choice. Does she destroy the idol? Maybe that's the only way to break the curse, but what if it's not?
But if she keeps it, she risks becoming another trapped spirit, just like those villagers.
It's a heavy burden to carry, especially when you're surrounded by all this chaos and fear.
So what does Hannah do? She fights back. She smashes the idol
against a rock.
And the forest, it erupts. There's this deafening wail, this unearthly sound.
The spirits recoil. They start dissolving into mist.
The trees stop attacking, and then silence.
It's interesting, isn't it? Sometimes you have to destroy something to break a cycle.
In this case, it was the idol, a symbol of the villagers' fear, their misguided attempts to control the spirits.
And by destroying it, Hannah breaks the curse. But it's not a clean victory.
By morning, it's just Hannah and Kenji, the guide. I stumble out of the forest, battered and traumatized, but alive.
Hannah leaves the pieces of the idol behind. She vows never to return.
But that's not quite the end of the story, is it?
No, there's one final twist. It reminds us that sometimes, no matter how hard we try, we can't escape the past completely.
As they're leaving, Hannah realizes a tiny shard of the idol is stuck in her bag.
It's pulsing faintly, and she could swear she hears it whisper her name.
It's such a chilling detail, right? It leaves you with this sense of unease, like even though the curse is broken, a piece of it remains.
It makes you wonder, did Hannah really escape? Or will she always be connected to that tragic history?
And it brings us back to that core question we keep coming back to. How much of what they experienced was the curse itself? And how much was their fear, their belief in the curse, that made it real?
Our own minds can be so powerful, can't they? The way our beliefs and fears can shape our reality.
It makes you wonder what other curses we might be carrying around, what anxieties might be holding us back.
Absolutely. So how do we break free from those limitations? How do we face those shadows within ourselves?
And welcome back. We're wrapping up our deep dive into the Curse of Jukai's Shadows. You know, last time we left Hannah and Kenji, they'd made it out of the forest, but...
They weren't exactly unscathed, were they?
No, not really. Especially Hannah. She's carrying this constant reminder of their experience.
That shard of the idol, right? Still whispering her name. It's like a piece of the curse followed her home.
Exactly. It emphasizes that even when we think we've escaped something, sometimes the fear sticks with us.
It becomes part of who we are.
And it brings us back to that question we've been wrestling with this whole time. Was the curse real? Or was it all in their heads?
Well, The story does a great job of blurring the lines there. On one hand, we see these very real manifestations of the curse, the symbols, those creepy spirits. Even the forest itself seems to be attacking them.
But on the other hand, their fear, their belief in the curse, definitely seems to make them more vulnerable.
Like it's feeding the curse, making it stronger.
It's like they're trapped in this vicious cycle. The more they fear the curse, the more real it becomes.
And that's something we can all relate to, right? We have those fears, those anxieties that can feel as real as any external threat.
Totally. Our own minds can be our biggest enemies sometimes.
So the question is, how do we break free from those self-imposed limitations? How do we face those inner demons, those whispers of doubt that tell us we're not good enough?
How do we quiet those voices? I think recognizing them for what they are is a good first step. They're just thoughts, not truths.
Exactly. We have the power to choose which thoughts we listen to, where ones we let shape our actions.
It's about taking control, right? Not letting fear dictate our lives.
And sometimes, confronting our fears means seeking knowledge, learning about the thing that scares us. The more we understand something, the less power it holds.
It's like shining a light into a dark corner. Suddenly the shadows aren't so scary anymore.
In the context of this story, I think it's about understanding how our minds work, how things like suggestion and fear can distort our perceptions, how we can trick ourselves into believing something is real, even when it isn't.
So knowledge is power, right? It's not just about accumulating facts. It's about understanding how those facts apply to our lives, how they can empower us.
And sometimes it's about finding the beauty in the unknown, too. Curiosity doesn't always have to lead to something bad.
It can lead to discovery, to growth.
To a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us.
I like that. Approaching the unknown with a sense of wonder, but also a healthy dose of skepticism.
Embrace the mystery, but don't let it consume you.
So as we close out this deep dive into the curse of Jukai shadows, I think the takeaway here is that we all have our own Jukai villages, those places inside us where fear and doubt live.
But we also have the power to choose courage over fear, knowledge over ignorance.
We can write our own stories.
I think that's a great message to end on. We're not just passive observers in our own lives. We have choices to make.
Well, thanks for joining us on this journey. It's been a pretty unsettling one, but hopefully thought-provoking as well. And remember, the next time you feel that grip of fear, remember Hannah. You always have the power to choose courage, to break free, and to embrace the unknown.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those whispers of doubt at bay.